The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming featured entertainment includes Bret Michaels' Birthday Bash on April 11th and Earthquake on April 12th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. American Idol champ David Cook performs at Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland on April 9th and Jam and Java in Vienna, Virginia on May 2nd for his annual Race for Hope fundraiser to benefit the National Brain Tumor Society. He joined me to reflect on his journey from winning American Idol Season 7 to recording hit songs like The Time of My Life and Light On. Hey, David Cook. Hey, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, man.
We are talking because you are going to be performing at Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland on Wednesday, April 9th. And of course, so you won American Idol Season 7, but you'll be paired up with another winner, Idol Season 16 winner, Maddie Poppe. How did the idea to tour together? I mean, it's a natural pairing, both being winners, but does it sort of jive musically as well?
So Maddie and I met, we both performed a couple seasons back. They did like an Idol duets thing. I went and performed with my good friend Chris Allen, and she performed with Caleb Hutchinson. So we met backstage. Our dressing rooms were next to each other.
Yeah.
We have the same booking agent as well. So there was all these kind of weird like through lines and connections. And then we did a show together last December down in Florida. And it was a blast. It was fun. And so that kind of opened up the opportunity to maybe do some shows together down the line, and so I'm excited that it's come to fruition. She's a great hang, but a fantastic performer, and yeah. So I mean, I already look forward to going and playing in places like Annapolis, Maryland. I do love that town, and I love that venue, and so I'm excited to go back anyway. And then you partner that with getting to work with Maddie again. So I'm is double stoked a phrase or a term?
It is now. It's Stoke Squared. There's something. I love it. And yes, Annapolis is a great historic town. And maybe get some crabs while you're there on the bay, do it up. But yeah, so will you both ever be on stage together, or is it one after another? Do you ever come out and do duets at the end? Anything like that?
But there's no plans for that. We actually haven't had a discussion about it, but those things can be thrown together rather quickly. So you might be responsible for that now. So.
Well, triple stoked now. I love
Stokes
it.
too, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of like set list wise, you don't have to spoil the whole thing, but like obviously you'll be sprinkling all the greatest hits of David Cook over the years. But is there anything specifically new that you're doing? I know you did an EP a couple years ago and just had a single out last
Yeah, so
year.
I'm working on new music now, actually. We did a show last week in Nashville, and unveiled a new one called Rendezvous. I imagine we'll play that again because we could use the practice at this point. Um, but yeah, I think our shows we try to keep them fresh, not just for the audience, but also for us. It is very much we have our set list, but it is still very fly by the seat of our pants. I'm known to talk a lot,
Yeah.
which the band hates. So you might hear me telling a story, then all of a sudden the band will start playing music, which is usually their cue for me to shut up and let's move on.
Like
Uh,
your Oscar or Grammy, the playoff music, like wrap it up.
I get playoff music from the guys that I hire to be my band.
No, we love the
But
stories in between. You kidding me? Keep it doing it.
yeah. I keep telling them I don't pay them for that, but they do it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think our shows are meant to be sort of give and take. I want the audience to feel like every time they leave our show, they've gotten a show that they're not going to see again,
Yeah.
and they've gotten an experience that is sort of just germane and isolated to that evening in that room. And
Mm.
Because those are the kind of concerts I love going to. So I feel like I don't want to go see an artist perform and then go see him again and have the exact same experience. I want each experience to, I like you got something special. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it only exists that magic in that moment. And every time is
Right,
special and every time is different. Well, we're
right.
excited for your rendezvous in Annapolis. And then we also should tell folks that you're playing another very special show. The Annapolis one is April 9th, but then if we stick around in May 2nd in Vienna, Virginia, you're
Yes.
doing your Race for Hope fundraiser. I know you do it, I guess every year you come back to the DC and do it, but
Yeah.
remind our folks the very special personal connection to you, why that cause is
Yes.
so important.
So starting in 2009, I started working with an organization called the National Brain Tumor Society. They put on an event called the Race for Hope in DC, and it's a 5K walk run around the Capitol, and it raises money for money and awareness for like research and grants and stuff for finding a cure for brain cancer and brain tumors, which my older brother Adam passed away from in 2009. So it has been um, maybe the thing I'm most proud of is that relationship and that event and being able to be involved with it. Um, we make a weekend out of it because the race is on the first is that Sunday, and 2 nights before on a Friday we'll play a show somewhere in the area. In the last few years, we've played at Jam and Java,
Hmm.
um, and the shows have been great, and more importantly, we're again raising a little bit more money and hopefully getting a little closer to a cure. So, um, but yeah, I've been involved with them now. I'm bad at math, so I'm gonna say 16 years.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I've said this before. I feel like if at the end of my career or life or whatever, if that's the first thing people bring up when they talk about me, then I've done something right. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because the fame and fortune and idol and the hit songs and all that is one thing, whatever. But that, that none of that is more important than this cause that you're doing, and paying
I
it
don't,
forward
yeah,
to
I,
your
I
brother. Of
agree. I'm so thankful to Idol for the platform.
course.
Absolutely. But yeah, to use it for something like this felt like a no-brainer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you and keep up the great work. Rest in peace to Adam. And
Thank you.
well, maybe that's actually a fitting segue. And I was going to ask, sort of you growing up. So I'd love to hear about you and Adam growing up. I know you're born in Houston in '82, but mostly grew up in Missouri, right? So what did you
Yes. Yeah.
all grow up listening to? And Adam was big bro, right? So was he showing you certain bands, or you know what I mean? Like, what were you guys listening to?
Oddly enough, yeah. So Adam is my half brother. So he was 11 years older than me.
Okay.
And so, um, growing up, I actually got a pretty steady diet of like old school. I say old school now, like 80s and 90s country from
Yeah.
my mom, and then my dad was more like classic rock, like Boston and Kansas, and
Yeah.
um,
What '80s country are you talking about?
Dolly, Kenny Rogers,
Yeah.
and then transitioning into like uh, Garth Brooks and
Of course.
that sort of stuff.
That
Alan
class of
Jackson.
'89, Garth and Randy
Right.
Travis
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Clint
yeah, yeah,
Black
yeah.
and no, yeah, yeah.
And then it wasn't until um, I was probably 12, I think. I heard Nine Inch Nails and White Zombie back to back on the radio. I was like, oh,
What is
okay.
this?
And then that Christmas, my brother Adam was I think he was in law school or maybe he was still in his undergrad at that point. I can't remember. But he worked at there's a Sony um, CD manufacturing facility in Terre Haute, Indiana, where my brother lived, and
Okay.
he worked there. And so one year for Christmas, he got me. I remember he just gave me a sack, and inside the sack was all these CDs, and it was like REM's Automatic for the People, Pearl Jam's 10.
Wow.
Uh, there was like a Cure record in there. My brother was a big Cure fan, but whatever. I didn't resonate with that so much, but I burned a hole in that Pearl Jam 10 record and that REM record. Um,
And you don't mean the hole in the center of the CD. You mean actual in the end.
I played it so much
Yeah,
it
yeah,
stopped working.
yeah. Started
Yeah,
skipping
and
on
so
even on your Discman.
yeah, and I wasn't like I hate this record so much I'm gonna set it on fire. Yeah, but it just uh, it was all of that sort of this it became this amalgam of like musical experiences and inspirations um and that mixed with like just kind of coming of age in the 90s grunge era.
Yeah.
It's still like I still pull from those influences. Like I was in the studio the other day tracking a song and I referenced oh God, what was I referenced the beginning to Pearl Jam's Black
Nice.
as like a studio reference. Like, oh, we should do something like that. And it's yeah, it's sort of become this like through line through my like musical vocabulary and aptitude is like pulling from these CDs that were in a sack that my brother gave me. So
The old stack of CDs. But it's
the old
iconic music. I mean, Pearl Jam's Black will live on that or that album 10 will live on forever.
stack of CD. That might be the name of the next record. To be honest
There
with
you
you.
go. You should. Stack of CDs.
Stack of CDs. Yeah.
I love it. And also I wanted to tell folks not only were you getting into music and forming, bands in high school and stuff, but you were also, weren't you, you were quite the pitcher on the mound, right? Weren't you, didn't you give up a home run to Pujols? Is that
I
true?
did, yeah. So I was not like a stud pitcher by any stretch of the imagination. I'm left-handed
Southpaw.
and it's like sort of crafty. Like I threw a lot of can we speak freely? Like
Go ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
I threw a lot of shit.
You're
Like
a junk ball pitcher.
yeah, no, I had a fastball that like topped out at like 75 on a great day if the wind's at my back. But I had a curveball and I had a slider and I had a knuckle curve and I had a changeup. So like I had an arsenal I could work with. Um,
You're good enough to be on the American Legion, man. That's still pretty good.
it was yeah. So it was Legion ball. It was my first little taste of it. Like um, and I go in as a reliever. Pujols was playing for Independence Post 21. Um, and we were playing at this stadium that's no longer there called Chrysler Stadium. And out in left field was this double high, like mini green monster. And then behind that was like a very steep hill of rocks that went up to like a railroad
Yeah.
or like a, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, he, I hung a curveball or something. And I mean, when I tell you I never saw it land, I never saw it. It
Over the
went
tracks.
It went over the tracks, um, and it was a sound I had not heard before when it hit the bat. So I that moment I was like, oh, like okay, okay, there's levels to
That's
um,
but that's wild. He would go on to play for the Cardinals, which was where you probably grew up watching. Well, you were more of a
yeah.
McGuire era, I guess.
I
Probably.
reached out over the years and hit him up for tickets and never heard back. And no, I'm just
Man, come on, Albert.
yeah, no. I got to perform at the before the Home Run Derby in St. Louis in '09.
Oh, nice.
And that was as close as I ever got to um that's as close as I really ever got to an Albert Pujols Major League Baseball interaction. So
And
um
all those years later in '09, the ball still had not landed from it's still
honestly
going
it's in orbit somewhere.
somewhere in orbit.
I think they call it space debris.
I love it. I love it. Well, I like reminding folks all this stuff because you can be well-rounded. You can be a baseball player, you can be getting into rock music, but at the same time, you're also doing high school musicals. I love that you were a theater kid too. So, which roles did you play in Music Man, West Side Story, Singing in the Rain? Like, which roles? Do you even remember? We're going deep back now.
Yeah, yeah. So Music Man was my first musical in high school, if I remember. Yeah. I was a Shapoopy dancer, which
Chip
is like
Hoopy,
the
Chip
most
Hoopy.
yeah, the most ridiculous name for anything. Um I I had gone the year before because you could either play sports or you could do the
Oh,
the
right.
the various theater stuff throughout the year.
I remember it well. I wanted to play football, and then they were like, "Oh, you can't do the other," so I had to pick.
yeah. So freshman year I played basketball, but I went to go see the musical because I had friends in it, and was just like, oh, I've made a terrible
Yeah.
miscalculation. So quit basketball. Did Music Man as a chorus member. West Side Story was junior year. I played Riff,
Oh, nice.
which I loved because spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, Riff gets stabbed
Yeah.
at the end of the first act.
Oh, it's a
So for
big
me,
rumble. You're only at half a show.
the whole second act was just me dicking around. Um, and then senior year, I was Cosmo in Singing in the Rain,
Oh,
and
wow. Donald O'Connor, obviously the sidekick to Gene Kelly. So you got to do Make 'em Laugh. Like, were you flipping off the stuff and all
I
the pratfalls?
did. I recently came across a video of it, and I did a round off into a collapsible wall at one point.
Nice.
I look at it now, and I'm like, my wrists started hurting just from watching it, and like I had back pain, and
That's your guitar risk.
yeah, yeah,
Careful,
it's
careful.
it's so funny, man. Like I watch it, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know I could do that, and I'm 100% sure I couldn't do it now. Uh, but man, that role was so much fun.
You should
Like I
throw that up on YouTube for the rest of us, or side by side it with the actual Singing in the Rain. That's one of the most hilarious sequences.
just be trying to do it now, and it
Yeah,
just looks yeah, yeah.
yeah. Or the couch behind you, you could go do the. I guess that's Good Morning, isn't it? Where they go down the couch. Anyway, we're
Oh,
sidetracked.
yeah, I danced with a mannequin, the whole thing. It was a lot. Yeah.
Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh.
Yeah, yeah. And then that got me a theater scholarship to University of Central Missouri, which I abruptly gave up because the band I was in at the time was starting to take up more and more of my attention. So,
Nice.
um,
So you, like you said, you get a theater scholarship to University of Central Missouri. I guess you switched to graphic design, but ultimately you moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma to
yes.
pursue a career in music. You joined the Midwest Kings. Where does American Idol, you watching it fall? Like, had you been watching the previous seasons before you auditioned? Like, are you watching like Chris Daughtry and be like, okay, he's paving the way for some rock stuff now, you know?
No, I was sort of just peripherally aware of it.
Right. How could you not be back then? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was such a part of like the pop culture zeitgeist, and then yeah, but I was kind of I don't know, self-absorbed, doing my own thing, and I my little brother Andrew had wanted to audition for years, and then the auditions were coming to Omaha, and my brother was still up in KC. Um, he reached out and asked if I wanted to be like moral support and come up with him and our mom to like essentially help him audition. And I was like, hey, I'm broke and a free vacation sounds good. Even,
Yeah.
hell, I'll go to Omaha. They got a zoo. Um, and so we went. We did go to the zoo. Um, and then while we were standing in line to register, one of the producers of the show, this guy Norm, was walking down the line. It's like 5:30 in the morning, and he's stopping and asking random people like, "Why are you the next American Idol?"
Yeah.
Um, and everybody's giving their answer or whatever, and then I'm like, "Please don't stop on this. Please don't stop here. Please don't stop." Stops, and he asked my brother, and my brother gave his answer, and then he turned and asked me, and I was like, "I'm not auditioning," and he goes, "Oh well, whatever, just go ahead and answer. Who cares?" All right. Um, and he goes, "Why are you the next American Idol?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm just trying to meet Mandy Moore." Um,
That's great. This is
yeah.
long
And so
before.
he walks away, and my mom was like, "You should just you got nothing to lose. You should just audition." All right, you know. So I picked a Bon Jovi song that I used to play at my acoustic gigs where I made my rent money, and it snowballed like crazy. So, yeah.
You're just their supporting brother, and then the next thing you know, you're auditioning, living on a prayer, and getting that golden ticket to Hollywood.
I got to give Andrew credit. So, like, our first audition was like, it was, they bring you down on the arena floor there, and they put us in groups of four. And then we walk up in front of this it was like 13 different tables. You walk up to one of them, there's a judge there, and she points at you and you sing your 15, 20 seconds, and then
Yeah.
goes down. Um, and then they would go, okay, you're not what we're looking for, and you would you would go through this door, and then you're outside, like you're done. Or they would go, okay, you go this way, and then they bring you in and you sign paperwork and do all this stuff, and then you come back 2 months later. Andrew and I were in the same group with these two girls, and we all sang. And Andrew and I are not like we're on the ends, and this lady goes, pointing at Andrew and I, and then just goes, "You three, I'm sorry, go this way. You're not what we're looking for." You, and points at me, just go this way. And so, like in that moment, I'm like, "Oh no!" Like this was Andrew's thing. And so like I go through and I signed the paperwork or whatever. And the first thing I did when I got out was like, Andrew, like, if you don't want me to do this, I won't do it. Like
Yeah.
this was your thing. And he was a wrestler in high school and probably knows, 40 different ways to kick my ass and said as much. He goes, if you don't do this, I'll beat your ass. And
I'll make you tap.
yeah, like, all right. But like no, I feels so weird to say I didn't have a goal with it.
Right.
And I think that served me well because it wasn't like I went in like, oh, I want to win this whole thing. I was just like, all right, I'm here, and like,
And you weren't overly nervous. You weren't overthinking it. You were just free,
oh my God, anything. I was underthinking it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
But maybe that worked to your benefit. You were just
absolutely like because it was just I knew I was like I'm just gonna like take it for what it is, ride the wave, and we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
which is so not my nature.
Yeah.
I'm usually like really prone to overthinking shit. So that was like, I don't know. That was something else kind of taking over. But every audition round was just like, all right, well, eventually they're gonna figure out that like I'm not what they think I am. So I was like, whatever, I'm playing with house money. And I'd go in and do whatever I did, and they just kept saying yes.
I love it. And I remember you were one of the first contestants who took advantage of, I guess they had just right before that changed the rules where you could bring instruments on stage. So I always remember you playing guitar and singing. And the one performance I remember, of course, you've probably been asked it a million times, but the Billie Jean performance is probably one of the great performances, not just by you, but like if you were going to rank all of the performances ever in the history of Idol, like I would put Billie Jean probably up there towards the top. So what was your inspiration for not only picking it, of course, Michael Jackson, it's a huge hit, obviously, but you're not moonwalking it. So what's your idea of like, I'm gonna strip this down and get moody with this thing? I mean, it was awesome.
So full credit where it's due. I had come across so typically like early on what I would do is, all right, what are the parameters of the week? So each week we had a theme, like it's 70s week, it's 80s week, it's whatever, year of your birth. And then you pick a song and then what I would do is like I would go through like within the parameters of that week and I would just like hop on iTunes or whatever and just find different versions of the song and try to find something that would like steer me in a particular direction. And I came across a Chris Cornell version of Billie Jean.
Oh, that's right. He had done.
Yeah.
Right. You're right.
And so like, Michael Jackson's original version is it's 4/4 bum 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 dun 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 and
Yeah.
Chris Cornell kind of broke it down into like a 6/8 like a waltz
Mm.
and really mooted it out. And I was like, okay, I think I can pull off something like that. And so it was more about just like acknowledging where I was at with like within the competition and the other contestants and seeing like, okay, like there's David Archuleta, there's Carly Smithson, there's Michael Johns, there's Brooke White, there's all these people with like these incredible voices that can do things that I can't do. So what can I do to like differentiate myself or try to make this work? And what I landed on was just I'm just gonna bend these songs to my will as best I can and um not thinking like, oh, this will be a great play. It was literally just like survival. Like I just got to be able to get on TV and sing the songs. Like, what can I do? And that's where like, Billie Jean came into play. That's where Always Be My Baby came into play. Just like, okay, I've got to like figure out a way to not make this feel awkward and insincere. And why in the hell is David singing, the original version of Always Be My Baby or Billie Jean, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just I wish that there was more thought put into it than that, but it literally was just like a survival mechanism.
I love how you said you're bending these songs to your will. I love it. And you bent the
I,
judges and the audience to your will too, you know? Eventually we all voted for you, so
well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if I'd sat down and tried to think of a plan to win Idol,
yeah.
it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Um, it was just, I don't know, man. I was just trying not to take last every week. I was just like, all right, it's a competition. It's like, just don't, it's like when you're running from a lion, you don't have to be the fastest. You just have to be faster than the slowest person.
Yeah, the one that's getting eaten every week.
Yeah, and that's how I treated it. It was just like, all right, I just like if I get a middling response to a song, okay, just don't be the one that's like, oh my God, that was terrible.
Exactly. Well,
That was my only goal.
eventually you were the last one. There was no lineup.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, one more Idol one because I do want to get to some of your CDs
Sure.
really quick before. But one more, just on the finale. Can you close your eyes and still remember that moment of you and Archuleta next to each other and Ryan Seacrest? And the winner is David Cook. Confetti. All like, can you remember that moment if you really think?
So I talk about this on stage. I so they had told us that morning not who won, but what the winner's vote margin
The
was.
percentage or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like the winner won by 12 million votes.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was like 5:30 in the morning on that Wednesday. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I took second, because Archie was such a force that season. And you could feel the atmosphere change anytime he walked on stage. Like the
Yeah.
audience reacted differently. It was louder, it was higher pitched. Um, and so it was like, okay, like, yeah, cool, second place. And so I had the greatest day of my entire Idol experience was the last day because it was just like, all right, like I'm not a competitor anymore, and I can just like be in the moment,
Yeah.
So I got to perform with ZZ Top. I got to perform with, George Michael and Bryan Adams, and just like flashcards kind of day. And
Yeah.
and I planned out what I was gonna do at the end. Like they were gonna say Archie's name, Secret's gonna come out, dim the lights, here we go, whatever he does. I was gonna turn and give Archie a hug and tell him I love him, and then get out of the way. Um, and then Seacrest says my name, and I instinctually turn and I give Archie a hug and I tell him I love him, and then it's like my brain just shut off. I don't remember.
Blacked out.
Truly, I literally don't remember the next like 36 hours.
Wow.
It's I've watched the YouTube footage, so like I know what happened, but it's
Right.
not like a first person recollection of it.
Wow.
Only time that's happened.
But you made it through the coronation song, "The Time of My Life." You did it. You rocked it. So you must have been able. But I guess it's like a
I have
boxer that just can finish the last couple rounds, but they don't remember.
I have complained to production so many times since then. Like, you realize how mean it is to like every time somebody gets voted off or on the finale, you're making somebody sing a song in like a very emotionally heightened moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
How do you
it's
remember
not
the words? Yeah, it's like,
never good. It's
yeah,
never good. Like, it's always like, as a singer, you're trying to dodge like tears and snot and gross, and it's just so yeah, it's yeah, I wish I remembered it. I wish so much that I had a first person recollection of it, but it was just such a, I don't know. It was emotionally overwhelming.
and the adrenaline is probably enough to knock anyone's memory out. It's
If I
insane.
had to do it now, if that happened to me now, I'd probably have a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, we're both you and I are both a little we're older than we were back then, so
Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, awesome. So yeah, okay. Well, I want to get into some of your albums really fast before we go. So the Time of My Life is the Coronation song. I think it debuts at like number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. So you're off to the right. Not to be confused with the Dirty Dancing. The Swayze.
Yeah, yeah.
Different thing
Decidedly
entirely.
different tune. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you should have lifted Seacrest up in the famous Dirty Dance.
I could. He's not a large man, but yeah, I
You could do the
wasn't
famous
that great.
the lift. But anyway, so that comes on. I guess it's. I know you had done a previous album, what Analog Heart, and sales get boosted for that. But the big breakthrough post, let's say post Idol album, is the self-titled David Cook in 2008. It goes platinum, not only with Time of My Life as a bonus track, but you get let me think, two top 20 singles, Come Back to Me and Light On, which was co-written by Chris Cornell, right? So you had done his Billie Jean cover, and now an original.
I think he'd written it. He'd written that song with another guy, Brian Howes, for his first solo record, Euphoria Morning. I think
So
that's
this
his
wasn't
first.
Audio Slave or Soundgarden.
No, no, no,
He had
no.
previously written it for a solo record. Okay.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, didn't make it on his record, and then it got pitched for mine. So like my first management meeting, they played me that tune,
Wow.
and I was like, "Oh my God, that song's incredible!" But like, how am I going to sing that every night?
Yeah.
Because it's a Chris Cornell vocal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Rest in peace.
it wasn't until years later, I was sick and I went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. And I'm sitting in there, I'm all stopped up, so like I'm talking like this, because you can't like
Yeah.
talk. You're talking like really nasally, and
Yeah.
the ENT ways. The doc goes, "Hey, I got Chris Cornell in the room next to us. Do you want to meet him?" And I'm like, "Sure." He comes in, also sick, also talking the same way.
What are the
So,
chances? You're both at the ENT doc
yeah,
together.
yeah. So it's like it was this very quick, like five
Wow.
minute thing of us just like being complimentary to each other and saying hi, nice to meet you. But it's like I just want to say like I'm a really big fan. Oh man, thank you so much. Like I think you have a great voice. It's just such a comical way to meet like one of your musical heroes.
Yeah, both
That was the
talking
only time.
nasally and not the same voice that
Yeah,
you're used to.
yeah.
That's great.
That was the only time I ever met him in person. And but man,
Wow.
what a gift. Like that song was such a gift.
Wow, it really was. Light on. I mean,
Yeah.
folks, I'm telling you, because when you hear a song title, sometimes you're like, which one was that? And I'm telling you, folks, pull it up right now on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. You will remember Light On. It was a huge hit. Same with Come Back to Me. And the whole album, I guess, was Rob Cavallo, the Grammy winning, the guy that did American Idiot for Green Day, right?
Yes.
So that whole
Yeah.
you're working with the best Cornell songs and that producer. I mean, unbelievable.
Cavallo was such a joy to work with.
Yeah.
I love the process of working with him because it was so we didn't have time to second guess anything. And
Yeah.
so like I listened to that record and like it's polished, like for sure. It's a major label record,
Yeah.
but like it's got an energy to it. It's got, there's warts in there that like, the typical listener's not gonna be able to hear.
Yeah.
But I love that. Um, it was, yeah, certainly like it would have been a joy anyway, just because it was my first major label record. But I
Yeah.
mean, he just elevated it. So much fun to work with him. Yeah.
It is great. So you're riding high, SNL, everything. So, what's it like trying to put out the follow up to that big Idol explosion? I guess that would be This Loud Morning in 2011. I don't want to say was there any pressure, but I think you actually rose to the moment. I mean,
Thank you.
your Fade Into Me is co-written by Better Than Ezra's Kevin Griffin. The Last Goodbye, co-written by One Republic's Ryan Tedder. So, I mean, you're working with other greats. So with three folks like that, I mean, counting yourself, I mean, it can't go wrong. But I don't know, but it could have been for a lesser artist. I think it could have been the old sophomore slump or whatever you call it. But you delivered. So yeah, are you proud of that one, just like the first one?
I'm proud of all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But that record I have a different relationship with for sure. That record was enough. It almost made me quit. Like it
really.
almost, yeah.
Why is
It's
that?
well in the middle of the tour for the first record. Adam passed. Rather than stop, which is what I should have done. I should have taken a moment. Um, I was so worried about like striking while the iron's hot, and I convinced myself like if I just bury myself in work, it'll be okay, and which never works. And Um, I got off the road and immediately went into writing for that record and just wasn't where I needed to be
Mm.
uh, emotionally. And so, it's like going to therapy and trying to exercise all of that stuff while writing a record that I think where I was at mentally was not where that record deserved. Um, and so for a long time, like I really couldn't embrace that record. Um, just because again, it was such a slog to try to get it done. Um, which was on me.
Yeah.
And then, fighting that never-ending battle of like, I want to make this piece of art, and obviously the label's concerned with the business side of things, and so it's like what the label wants versus what I want, and when it's not copacetic, when it's not the same, it's just a really tough
Yeah.
working environment. Um, and so yeah, but now, the benefit of time, I'm probably more proud of that record than any other. I think just because of what it took to get it out.
Yeah,
Um,
what you had to muster and dig down deep to do. Yeah, well,
yeah,
so I'm glad you can look back on that and be proud in hindsight. And then, of course, 2015, you do Digital Vein. The same year, you get married. So I think you're probably healing and moving on in your life, and it's all starting to come together.
yeah,
Hey, before we go, I know we're really tight. Real quick, I want to ask you about your Broadway debut, Kinky Boots, as the lead character, Charlie Price. You know, the shoemaker that builds the shoes for Lola. This is in
yeah.
2018. Just another way that the Idol and your albums like opening new doors, right? You're trying different things and coming full circle to your High School Musicals.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a joy to like scratch that itch again and do something creative that was more communal. Like
Yeah,
working on records, it's sort of as a solo artist, it's very much like a lone thing.
yeah,
But to get to work with that cast and that crew and help tell that particular story,
yeah.
man, what a shot in the arm. I would do that again a million times. I don't tell them, but I do it for free if they ask. But I
No,
so
pay him, but cast him again, everybody. Pay him though. Awesome. But first, before he plays Broadway again, check out David Cook at Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland on Wednesday, April 9th. And then head out to Vienna, Virginia on May 2nd for a great cause at Jam and Java, the Race for the Hope fundraiser to benefit the National Brain Tumor Society, the DC-based nonprofit. David Cook, thanks for all the great music. Thanks for all the philanthropy with the fundraisers. And this was a great combo. I really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate you making the time. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.